So, what's your earliest memory of cars and four wheels, and what sparked your passion for, you know, everything with an engine, really?
Earliest memory? Gosh, well, it's got to be on bikes, for sure. We had a lot of friends who we'd all go out riding with, that sort of thing. Me and my brother used to draw on the roads a racetrack in chalk, which I don't think counts as graffiti. But yeah, we used to draw those and then race around the tracks. So yeah, probably on bikes really, probably bikes before four wheels, but very swiftly moved on to pedal go-karts as quickly as possible with that.
Yeah, and I presume it was onto petrol-powered carts, wasn't it, and scale electrics and things like that. And
yeah, so my earliest memory of four wheels is probably my 8th birthday party, racing go-karts, and that was my thing. I had a calendar waiting for it to come, the day where we were all going to go go-karting with my mates, and it was fantastic. You know, we all went out, all had an absolute blast, and you know, whether it's one way or another, I ended up winning, which was great. And I think that's probably what pushed a slightly obsessive next sort of 10 years of trying to race.
Trying to win.
Yes, yeah.
What kind of made you go from, you know, your 8th birthday onto Mighty Minis, really? I know you worked with karts for a while. But,
yeah, it was an interesting one, that. So my jump from sort of bikes and go-karts up into racing minis was weirdly quick, actually. So I didn't do a huge amount of go-karting, not like a lot of people. A lot of people have done far more than I ever have. And perhaps it shows out on track sometimes. No, but the jump from go-karting to cars was basically done when I managed to get the budget to go racing. So we got some sponsorship together and we said, well, look, let's go. And my dad had always been very keen about us not spending a huge amount of money on racing. And so we just went into car racing.
You can spend a lot of money.
Yeah, you can spend a lot. I mean, it's interesting because in some ways we probably spent more going into cars straight away, but you know, staying in karts for a long time can cost you just as much as what we did in the minis. Yeah.
While you were karting, I know you worked at Hereford Raceways for a while. Did you display any particular talent, or did anyone, you know, say, oh, you should go into racing, you know? Or did you just enjoy it so much that you thought, you know, I gotta...
It was definitely an enjoyment factor. I loved being in control of a car, or, you know, of a go-kart, of anything with four wheels and an engine. And yeah, I have to say, I didn't spend a huge amount of time excelling at Hereford Raceway. I think I won 1 or 2 of the Winter Championship rounds. But never saw the whole season through. So it was all quite sketchy up until the point where we actually decided to put some money into it and go racing in the tin tops. You know, I can't say thank you enough to everyone that helped me through that time. And it has to be said that people at Hereford Raceway like Chris really were there. You know, a lot of advice came through Chris, and obviously he employed me for a long period of time.
First race in your minis, you're 17, you came second. How did that feel?
Oh, it felt great. Awesome. I mean, to be honest, it was one of those things where I wasn't really sure I was good enough either. And certainly my family, I don't think, were at all. You know, they've always backed me up, but it was never them the driving force. It was always me saying I want to go and do it. So, you know, they were in a lucky position to be able to help me out with things here and there. And to be able to come back into Park Firm and then look through the fence and say, Dad, look at this, man, I'm P2. Was great. That was awesome. And to be able to take the medal home as well and all that.
How young you were as well at the time.
Oh, it was,
like we were saying, you'd barely done any karting, and to go and come second.
I think I was 17 at the time, 17. Yeah. So that was a real high. That was a real high, that one.
And then you did a lot of advertising work from that, because there was a bit of a gap between the first race and the next race, wasn't there, if I remember? So you had a stand at the college we were at, didn't you? Advertising and talking to a lot of people about, you know, what you were doing.
Yeah, so we spent a lot of time promoting what I was doing. It was tough. I mean, we were promoting something called Mighty Safe Driving. # Mighty Safe Driving. It was Mighty Minis Championship. It was my little campaign that I came up with, and the whole idea was keeping racing to the racetrack. And it was great, worked really well. We got some fantastic people involved. For the short period of time that we ran it, it all went great. We were very lucky to get some excellent sponsorship on board, and it funded the season and it made it all work out well.
Yeah. So you say that first race was probably your highest point?
Yes, you know too well about the lowest point, don't you?
So what was your lowest point?
Well, the lowest point came very, very quickly after that, race 2.
Was it race 2?
It was race 2, yeah. So,
race 2.
And you and your dad got up at what, sort of 4 in the morning to come and drive over?
4-hour drive, was it? It's Rockingham, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So 4-hour drive to Rockingham to come and watch me race, and then
your dad was there, wasn't you, and the little ones, and your little brother and sister. And
yeah, the whole family had come out for that one, and in race 1, I shunted it into the side of my teammate, and that was, you know, the end of the race, and really not very good. The inexperience showed massively then.
Race 1 of the weekend, not race 1 of the championship.
No, race 1 of the weekend, yeah. And then race 2, the fuel pump failed, and then after the fuel pump was fixed, the throttle cable snapped. So, yeah.
Oh.
And being in the car in the pit lane with everyone else revving up on the grid and knowing that we're not going to make it onto the race is the hardest feeling in the whole world. Especially when I had such a terrible race 1 and I really wanted to prove, you know, that we had the performance to be finishing P2.
Yeah, that must have been bad. I guess going from finishing second in your first race, you know, there was only one place you'd want to go to be happy from that, and that was a win. And to not even get on the grid, or to get on the grid and knock into your teammate, and then sit in the pit lane.
Yeah, it was a very, very tough weekend. It was a very tough weekend. It was going from the other thing that made it so tough was how awesome the first weekend had been. You know, we'd done great in race 1. We'd had qualified P2, finished P2. Race 2 was a reverse grid, so we started P6, finished P6. So I was really chuffed. We had good points for the championship. And then to go out there, and we ended up with I think a 13th finish in race 1, and a DNF or DNS in race 2, which was it was tough, not fun.
But on the flip side of that, I went to see you at Cadwell Park, which was, what was that?
That was towards the end of the season. Cadwell was a great race actually, and it was good that you were there for that.
Amazing circuit.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean the mini Nürburgring. Anyone that's into their classics will know well about Cadwell. It's a fantastic track. So Cadwell was great. We started P7 on the grid, and as we're going around to the grid, the marshal pulls me over after the formation lap, saying,
"Fuel cap."
That's it. Fuel cap was off, and fuel was leaking. So I said to him, "Please just screw it back on and can we go?" And the cap had been left there; it had been left off, and he was like, "Yeah, fine, whatever." Screwed it on, and we started stone dead last. But throughout the 20-minute race, made my way all the way back up again to 6th place.
That was amazing. How many cars were there on the grid?
I think at that point we were running about 20 odd cars, and it was that was a great feeling to come through the field.
It's good to watch as well.
Yeah, it was interesting to come through the field and then really find where the race was at the front of the field. And you know, we had a very competitive first year of racing, and it went well.
So where did you finish in your first year then, in the championship?
In the first year, we won the novice championship and P7 overall, which was great. Yeah, it was fine. Everyone ahead were considerably more experienced.
Yeah.
And
that was out of about 20 cars, did you say? Not all of them show up every weekend, do they?
Yeah, it was more like 25 cars, but none of them showed up all weekend. So I mean, we were
good though.
Midfield basically.
First season.
That was great, really good. And then second season, we should have really gone up to the Supers, but we stuck in the Mighties for one more year. I wanted more time in the car, and that season we finished P4, and that was really good. That was missing the last 2 rounds of the season as well, so we could have been a lot better.
What was that due to that you missed?
That was due to trying to sort of fit into the bigger picture. So at this point, we'd had ideas about the racing team that we wanted to run. And I needed to get rid of my car to buy a Super Mighty Mini. So we sold the car, bought the Mini, bought the Super, and that way we could progress into next season. It meant that I missed out on 2 rounds of the championship that I'd have loved to have partaken in. But,
and the Supers are the same car with a bigger engine, are they, I presume?
Yeah, so what you've got in the Mighty Minis is a 1275 standard mini engine. The championship's based a lot around very standardised stuff. So they run gas shocks, which just sort of firm the car up a little bit. Yokohama tyres, and that's pretty much it. I mean, obviously everything's stripped out.
Safety-wise, you got all the normal safety stuff in there, but apart from that, it's
Yeah, they're pretty standard.
Yeah.
But when you jump up into the supers, that's a lot more fun.
Yeah.
So they're bought out to 1300, well, 1293. And then you run a straight cut gearbox as well, a really lovely whine.
Yeah.
They run semi slicks or cut slicks, and you've got more adjustability with the suspension.
Yeah.
That's a race car. You know, you're
big step up, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, you're going faster into the corners and you're braking later, which was a really cool thing to get my head around. A very small jump in the grand scheme of things, but it taught me a lot about making the big jumps. So much learnt in that season in supers.
That's quite an odd question. How did it feel, knowing that it's quite expensive, all this Mighty Minis stuff? Every race, you know, knowing that there's quite a lot on you.
Yeah, it wasn't
Did that have
nice.
any effect? Or was
it wasn't nice. No, I stopped racing for that reason.
And you were at college at the time as well.
Yeah, there was a lot going on, and it's fantastic. You know, I love working hard. That's great. It's very nice to be busy. I think anyone can agree with that.
Yeah.
But what wasn't so nice was constantly spending all this money and having to sort of try and focus on a bigger goal, which is tough when sometimes the results weren't there, and there was a lot of support from everyone, which was great to have, but it came down to a point of thinking, is this going to be the end goal? And at 20, when I was 20, I left the racing behind and decided to go off as a coach instead. And now, if bits come up here and there, I'll go and do them. But
so you were in the minis for how many seasons?
3 seasons.
3
seasons of mini racing, yeah.
You had your gap year and you're now a ARDS driving coach. So people pay and come and sit in these supercars and you're the person sat next to them.
Yes, give or take. It varies massively. The job role can be very different. So some days you can have a very high speed day, you can be doing very fast stuff. Some days it's very low speed stuff and there's not very much risk. Essentially you can be there just for insurance purposes. But I work freelance, so I work all over with a bunch of different companies, hence why you get such a different range in jobs. But it's great, you know. I am able to wake up every morning saying that I'm probably going to be in some sort of supercar or sports car come 9 o'clock, which is cool. It's a really nice thing to be able to say.
What's the best car or the most enjoyable car you've sat in or driven?
Oh, that's a tough one. There's lots of different cars for lots of different things. So, you know, on some days the most comfortable cars are definitely the nice ones to be in. So I don't know. I mean, things like a Volvo XC60. I mean, that's a lovely car.
Can't believe you're saying a Volvo XC60. There's an answer to that question.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Exactly. But then, you know, on a track, if you're driving, something like there's a replica Shelby Cobra that I work in. A huge, big 5-litre V8, fantastic car. No systems to keep you on the road at all. And that can be the most terrifying car to drive. It's awesome fun. You know, you don't know when it's going to decide to snap on you, and it's that can be a really exhilarating feeling. But then again, you know, something like an Ariel Atom. I mean, that can be just one of the most playful cars in the whole world. It's a complete toy.
It's a monster, isn't it? Really?
There's
Off
nothing.
The line.
Yeah,
I imagine it's
totally.
3 seconds or something. It's 0 to 60, something like that, isn't it?
Yeah. Off the line, they do show their guts. That can be probably one of the best things. Normally, those are used for hot rides. So for passenger rides when they're professional takes them out. Yeah, and so every now and then I sit as the professional driver and do that. And that can be lots of fun. It's nice to take people around, and people do get quite shocked by it. I mean, they're quick little cars. It varies by which ones you go in and the ages of them, etc., etc.
Yeah. Is there a car out there that you like to drive, or you like to sit in, or you'd like to, any car?
Yeah, I mean, out of all the cars out there, I don't know. There are so many that I've been privileged enough to sit in, and many of them privileged enough to drive. But probably something like a Ferrari F40. I think that would be quite a dream. Something like that, or a Miura, a Lamborghini Miura, perhaps a Countach. yeah, I mean that's it's they're idols of the supercar world.
Yeah, they're calendar cars, aren't they?
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
You just look at and think, geez.
Yeah. Oh, they're beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I mean, sitting in something like this is nice enough as it is. I mean, I absolutely love that thing.
Yeah.
You know full well I'd have had it off you if I could.
Yeah.
But there's eras in the world where certain things were really right in the manufacturing of cars, and
they had the freedom, didn't they, to do what they want.
Exactly. Yeah.
Draw whatever they want and make whatever they want.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a lack of that nowadays, unfortunately.
Yeah. So, you've had a few crashes in your time. Mm-hmm. What were they like, and do you have a crash that stands out as the worst?
Yeah, well, thanks. That's a good one. Yeah, I do. I've had a few shunts. In the minis, obviously, it's very low speed stuff. So majority of the time, you come out pretty well unscathed. The people have had big ones, and
I guess in the mini, there's not much kind of stopping you. You're very low, very small.
Yes. Yeah, but the thing is that the minis won't get much over 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So, cars and roll cages nowadays are very, very advanced systems, and though 100 miles an hour is very, very fast, chances are you slowed down quite a lot by the time you hit the wall. So I've had a crash my first crash was at Castle Combe. Mm-hmm. That was just lost it coming through camp and went backwards into the barrier, which is basically just a big cushion. Yeah. So the car was fine, and we actually just drove out and I continued qualifying. I did eventually come in with a fuel pump problem, but yeah, no big one there. Had a few other ones, this, that and other, just glancing off barriers and not particularly bad. One that does stand out was a wonderfully prepped car for the first race of the season at Brands Hatch, and the race for political reasons wasn't actually even being counted in the points because we weren't registered as a championship. Long story. Yeah. So basically, it was a fun race. So you shouldn't really push too hard. But I was leading. I was doing very, very well for that race, and got caught up by two other guys having a bit of a tussle. Spun it coming over paddock and rolled in the gravel trap. And it was that moment of thinking, "Ooh, might have the first race win on." To shoot, we've shunted a really lovely, well prepped car. And the season's just starting. Yeah. So that was, I can remember just thinking pound notes was all I was thinking was money. Really? Because these things just cost so much. So so that's one, and then I've had a very big crash at Thruxton, which wasn't nice at all, coming off as a passenger this time.
No.
How did you get into all this?
That's a very long story, which I'm going to make a video about very soon. Great. Answering all those questions.
Well, we won't go into that though.
Yeah, I don't want to bore you with that whole story, basically.
Look out for the video, guys.
Yeah, watch out for that. Coming soon.
Fantastic, great. Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure being here, mate.
Thank you for coming on.
See you next time, hopefully.
I hope people enjoyed listening to what you had to say about being a racing driver and a driving coach. Very interesting job.
Yeah, lovely.
So, comment what you think, guys. Hope you like it. And I'll see you next time.